pressure looks good.
Doubling up. Roger, roll, Atlantic.
Water towers can fly! Yes!
Tango Delta nominal.
Flight downside, speed off. Bring in, speed off. Off.
Yikes. You bet. Concur. We don't need any more of these.
Well, hello everybody. Welcome to a dedicated live stream of Booster 4's lift. We were hoping for chopsticks. Chopsticks may yet happen, but right now it's a crane lift. I think, personally, we might see both in action during this because we're going to see the crane being like a supporting structure and then maybe just test the chopsticks. We'll see. But we're doing a dedicated live stream because we've been in Starbase Live. There's 3,000 people in there and they're all going, when commentary? When commentary?
Yeah, right.
After about an hour and a half of me talking during this lift, you'll be going, oh, I'm going to have to press mute at some point. But we'll see. We'll take your questions. We'll take your questions and we'll be able to answer them faster because, trust me, I can talk faster than I type. As you may have gone from previous live streams. Sorry?
Chris, who are you?
Oh, do I need to? Oh, yeah, I should introduce everybody, shouldn't I? Yeah, which is myself, Chris Bergin. I'm the founder, imaginator. I had to give myself a title almost, of NASASpaceflight, and I'm joined by, you can hear in the background there, by Daz. Say
It's
hello,
me,
Daz.
I'm clicking. Go, I'm good, yeah. Hi.
So the first thing I'll say is, we'll take questions. And I think basically, before I introduce myself, I was basically trying to get a point across that we're going to do at NASASpaceflight. We'll get your question in the queue. I will answer them as best I can. Obviously, I'm on my own here, so I'll be doing the best I can with all these questions. But I think the most obvious thing is the site we see on screen right now, which is Booster 4 being lifted off its mount, and it's going to be placed onto the orbital launch mount. And they're going to go for a full stack at some point because we know now that Elon is going to have a presentation next Thursday, which will update us on the Starship's program status, which we're all waiting for. We'll hopefully see some nice videos along with it as well because we are in need of a kind of forward plan here from Elon. What the plan is with either Booster 4 and Ship 20, which technically he still stands by his last tweet, which was that they're going to fly. But of course, plans change all the time, and he may change the plan for this one, where we might see a future booster go. We might be seeing ground testing here with these two vehicles. But the glorious thing is we're going to see a full stack again, which I think we're all so impressed with. For that hour or so, it was fully stacked back last year. An amazing sight. And really, I cannot wait to see it again. So it's something where everybody's excited about the chopsticks and the way they're going to stack with the chopsticks. But just seeing a full stack, even if it's just crane lifted, it'll be amazing to see. But of course, we all assume that ship onto the booster will have to involve the chopsticks because of the crane heights. So that is something where we are going to see some chopstick action, I'm sure, at some point. But whether we see it for the booster part is the open question. I'm going to go through these questions here. Basically, a lot of people just saying thanks for the commentary. And of course, you're more than welcome because this is, again, I say it all the time, this is history. We're watching a brand new rocket system being lifted right now. It is rising right now. We're going to see the engine bells, which have been newly painted to make them look pretty. I refer back to how that is more aesthetic. They're going for the cosmetic look there. If they're going to do a presentation with Booster 4 and Ship 20, they don't want to look as pretty as possible. And I think painting those engine bells, which are got a little bit rusty, a little bit warm by the weather, they look a lot better now, these Raptor nozzles. Just looking through the question queue. I've never heard that voice. That's why Dad said introduce yourself, because I've never heard that voice before.
It's all good. And Chris, check it out real quick. The engine bells look like they've cleared the stand there. That transport stand on the SPMT, that thing is going now. That's why we went live. We figured people were going to want to see this, even if Elon had to cheat to get his presentation done on time by not using the chopsticks.
Hey, you know what? Speaking of introductions, we should also introduce the fact that we're getting these live views from Mary and Nick out there in the field with these wonderful enhanced views. Yeah, so again, we say it every live stream because it is very much needed to be said. Thanks very much to Mary, who is out there all the time, literally all the time. And Nick, who's been he's not really new anymore now. He's quite a regular with us now. So, and Nick is a great part of the team. So we're grateful for both of them being out there on this historic event. And it is historic because we are seeing the next step towards what will ultimately be an orbital flight. Whether it's with this vehicle or not, we don't know, but it is an historical event by the fact they're going to go for this stacking operation, which is more than the test fit they did last time. This would be more of a test fit with the Mechazilla system, such as the QD, the chip QD on the top of the midway through the tower, and the booster QD, which is on the base of the orbital launch mount. Put my teeth back in there. No, they lost my words there. Let's have a look at this question queue while watching this booster rise. Why are there heat? Spaceflight asks. I'm going to try and put this into the... there we go. Let's see if we can publish that one there. Actions. There we go. Actions there. That question queue's having fun with me, Daz. I don't know about you.
Yeah, here you go. Chris, I sent you another link. Click on that second link I sent you.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
Ah, now I've got a tick. I can put your questions onto the actual screen. I've got a very generous super chat from Chris Mill, £5. There appears to be an issue with the recovery of booster 1061. Any ideas? You know what? I am not too sure. I have not been following. We've been so engrossed with Starbase. I will ask Gav, very much our fleet expert, of any issues with that. As far as I'm concerned, we've had some sporty booster returns because the ones which came back, which landed on their landing legs quite hard, that booster obviously is a bit of an issue, but because it bent its engine bells on Yacht Grabber. But the other ones, I'm not sure. Tell you what, I will ask Gav and get back to you on that one. But I'm just watching this booster scene. That's why I'm following my words a little bit there, because this is an amazing sight of just watching this booster being lifted over by the crane. And I'm trying to work out if we're going to see any movement from the chopsticks at the same time. Because my bet last night, when the chopsticks did rotate towards the booster and back away again, was that maybe they will do a crane-assisted test of the chopsticks. That's what I'm looking forward to there, hoping well.
I wonder, I mean, they're turning around away from the chopsticks right now. And so they're sort of swinging the anti-chopstick way, and it doesn't look like there's really any way for the chopsticks to get in the way here. They've swung them completely out of the way away from the orbital launch mount. And I don't know. I think they may just be putting this thing up here with its nicely shiny painted photogenic engine bells. But I don't see a way that they can use the chopsticks today. Do you?
Well, I assumed when they started rolling Booster 4 towards the launch tower last night, that they would actually roll it in between the two arms of the chopsticks, and that would then allow the chopsticks to close around lifting points.
Yeah.
But that never happened. So when they secured the crane, I thought, okay, fair enough. They want to be safety first. They want to have a crane attached to it, just in case the chopsticks fail during the lift. But now they are just lifting it off the mount. So that would be even sportier to now lift it over to the chopsticks and the chopsticks take it in the air. I just can't see that happening.
I don't even know if that's a possibility here. The way the crane is rotating and the way the chopsticks are oriented right now, it's like they moved the chopsticks out of the way so they could just get the work done. But who knows? Maybe they get halfway up and then they flip it back around or something. I don't know.
If it was me, I'd lift it as high as possible with the crane and do a landing burn test. The chopsticks to catch it midair. Let's see if they can do it that way. That'd be very Elon of them, wouldn't it?
I would pay $32.86 to see that happen.
I'd top that by at least another $3. Got a question here, which I just want to answer because a lot of people keep asking about this one. If I can just put it on the screen, probably not. I'm messing up again. I'm not used to the question queue, as you can probably tell. But the question was about the static fire attempt. That's a very good question because if they don't, and it is an if, we're waiting for the Thursday presentation, if they do not launch Booster 4 on Ship 20 on the orbital launch attempt and they go for a further boost down the road, like Boost 7 in the high bay, they do have a lot of ground testing they can achieve with this vehicle at the pad. And that includes a static fire test. Remember, they've done a 3-engine test with with boosters before, so they've had a static fire test with the boosters. But the big test now is the orbital launch site tank farm. They've yet to test it with methane and liquid oxygen at the orbital launch site. It's been a suborbital launch site. They've been testing the vehicles with the static fires. So this is something where that'll come into play, and that is a big question as well for Thursday, the status of the orbital launch site tank farm. And then they can go and proceed towards what will be probably a staggered static fire attempt, where they go for the 3, 6, 9, and then the full 29 on this. Remember, they're going to go to 33 engines. So this is something where they have to progress and test how the engines react with each other, the more engines they test at the same time. So that question really is good, because I do think static fire test campaigns are going to be the next big thing to look forward to with Booster.
Look at that shot with Ship 20 in the background. The tiles of Ship 20 behind the crane there, and then the booster being lifted in. That booster looks super clean right now.
It does, you know what? And so does
Fantastic.
Ship. We saw the TPS close-ups during our little tours earlier, and the photographs we get from Nick and Mary. The TPS is looking in very good condition, and that'll be a very good test article to basically see how it reacts during the vibrations they've had during the cryo testings, during the static fire test. Only a few tiles have fallen off recently, so it's improved a lot. So that'll be, because they do say that there'll be more vibrations induced when it's firing attached to a stand than it will be during a launch. So if you see a few tiles fall off during static fire tests, it's not as bad as when it launches. It'd be under less stress, less vibrational stress. So that's something where I think they've got a nice little roadmap there for improving how their TPS stays on the vehicle.
Look at this, Chris. There's a great context shot here from one of our mobile units showing the OLM, the orbital launch mount they're going to. The booster has swung sort of away from the tower and the chopsticks. And then look at the angle of the chopsticks, how they're sort of out of the way, right? I wonder, it would be very Elon for the chopsticks to now swing back in this direction and then raise up and take the booster from the crane, but I just don't think that that's going to be what happens today. Now, they haven't lifted the booster high enough to get it on top of the orbital launch mount either. Look at that. They've got to lift it up a few, Raptor heights before it'll fit on top of the mount, and then they sort of let it down into there. So I'm going to keep a really close eye on the chopsticks for any swinging, not because I think that that's likely, but I think everybody's excited to see the chopsticks do something other than, well, anyways, test things with water ballast bags, whatever those things are called. We're all excited.
Can if I quickly go back to the question about 1061? Gav has very kindly passed on his tweet with the status of that one. There is something amiss there, so I've just put the tweet link into chat so that we can get an update on that, and follow Gav, because Gav is all things fleet. Marine assets do suck, as Peter Beck would say, but that's something where he's very much a fan of marine assets, and he will have all information you need on that one.
They're still moving that booster. You really can see it from the close-in shots. Look at this. You can see the high bay and the wide bay, new bay, whatever we're calling that thing in the background. In the back there, all the engine bells look fantastic. You can actually see the center ring of engine bells sticking down a little bit lower than the outside, the boosts versus the ones in the middle that are actually able to gimbal and help control the booster as it flies. That's just like the perfect angle to see exactly how much those center engines stick down a bit. So, again, folks, super hot start here. If you're just joining us, this is a lift of Booster 4. Elon has said that he's going to do a Starship update sometime this week, and I think he wanted to do it in front of a full stack. So we've got Booster 4 here. It's that new SpaceX crane lifting it up. It looks like they're actually raising the booster now and putting it on the orbital launch mount, that launch table back behind it, as we watch what's going on. But super interesting. It's a Sunday morning. We've seen them do lifts on Sunday mornings before. That's okay. Everybody squint down to 2020 real quick. And we are interested in what's going to happen with Starship here, because the booster, we know the crane should be able to get it over there. Still no movement out of the chopsticks, but if they want to put Starship on top of that booster, they're going to have to use the chopsticks. There's just not a crane there that's tall enough to do it, right, Chris?
That's correct. And we talked about the crane that was tall enough last time. I was kindly sent a DM just literally minutes ago from Nick. Big shout out to Nick, and he found the crane, Franken crane, which is what it was named by the SpaceXers. It's now working in Corpus Christi.
On the big Harbor Bridge?
Yeah, it's involved with that. So if you want to pay your respects to Franken crane for all its work at Starbase, you know where to go now. It's down at Corpus Christi, working on the bridge.
No kidding. That's where I grew up. I grew up down in Corpus.
Yeah, I thought you'd like that one.
Yeah, how about that?
But that's right. They literally don't have a crane big enough for it. The LR11000, which they've got there, the SpaceX crane with these nice little decals on the side, That one is being used for quite a lot of purposes, but it won't be able to do a full stack. So it's literally going to have to be chopsticks. And Elon wants that presentation in front of a full stack on Thursday. So we do have a full stack to look forward to in the next few days. I don't think it'll be today for a start. I think they just want to get booster on there and secure it onto the orbital launch mount. And look at this now.
Yeah.
They're not wasting any time at all.
You don't want those things just hanging around. Once you get that load on the crane, you want to get it done. You don't just want it to sit and swing in the wind. So,
and the aero covers as well are very impressive over the COPVs at the bottom of the vehicle there. It does look very much like a rocket booster now, compared to all the guts hanging out from previous lines with the aero skirts got on there as well. People were asking in chat as well. I noticed that come up asking about the heat shield. Why heat shields and boosters? Remember, the booster comes back. It's very SpaceXy. They have to bring it back through a re-entry burn. Well, I don't know what the burn situation will be. We'll get an update on that one at the presentation, I'm sure, because Elon did tease part of the catching video CGI that had been created for him. And I'm sure we'll get a longer version for the presentation. But these boosters are going to come back. The first one is planned to be a splashdown off the coast, the booster that is. And then the ship will then splash down off of Hawaii. But the next one, or if all goes well with that flight at least, will be a catch. They'll bring it back to the launch site. I think Elon did his excitement guaranteed reference again, which is what he did for Falcon Heavy, which is his anniversary of launch today, would you believe? The first maiden Falcon Heavy launch. So he said he feared that he would see a roadster wheel rolling down the crawlerway as Falcon Heavy exploded on the pad. That's what he feared. But of course that went very well. So you can imagine when he does a bit of kind of like excitement guaranteed for booster, I think the expectations might be slightly higher than what he's saying.
And Chris, look at this from the Mars angle. You can really see that booster swinging around off the side. Look at that.
Wow.
It looks like it's cleared the orbital launch mount now, so they should be swinging it over into position and then lower it down.
You know, I'm going back to the first time they'd done the lift onto the mount. This seems a lot faster.
Yeah.
They're expediting this a lot faster than the last time. So there's something where they're learning all the time. And I think that's important for Starbase's future, where they want to do these fast turnarounds. Yep. It's a rapidly reusable super heavy lift launch vehicle. Rapidly is part of its name. And that's what they want. They want the cadence to be fast. And I think we've been seeing that already with the way they're producing parts and vehicles and sections, and even the launch structure, the GSC, has been a fast process compared to anything else I've seen before at any other company or any other launch site. And of course, we've got that to look forward to at KSC as well. We're going to have 39A's Starship pad. We've got the potential of 2 pads at LC-49, pending their environmental results from NASA. So the way the future's looking, Roberts Road building up as well. There is so much happening with this program. We're watching the birth of it here at Starbase in South Texas. And it's every day something is happening. It really is. And today is no exception. Look at this coming over now. Coming over the mount. Yep. I think we'll be down in 10 minutes.
Look how fast it's moving. I mean, just swinging it over. They're not playing around today. It's a much smaller crane, too. Last time they put Booster 4 on, they had the big crane, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah. So they are just... it looks fantastic, though. Last time it was sort of like all exposed down there. And they've got all those aero covers. They've got the engine bells repainted. We saw a lot of that corrosion, the patina. We're sort of turning green. I wonder if they still have the numbers painted on them, though. Like, we used to be able to see the numbers.
Yeah.
Are those just covered by the aero skirts? I don't think so. It looks like they may have painted over the numbers.
Well, a little exclusive for our people in the channel right now is that they are still painting numbers on the actual engines. I have got a new Raptor 2 photograph that I'm going to use in the next article, which shows the number of it. It's painted onto its nozzles, so they do still keep putting the numbers on the nozzles. So that's something you'll see in the next article I'm going to write after this, all being well. Speaking of which, a wonderful segue to thanking Fiesta Feisty Ferret 69. Thank you for becoming a Red Team member. Red Team members get dumper photographs and preview clips, and they'll get a look at that Raptor 2 picture as well before I put the article on, so a little preview there. So there's little things there where members get extra things. for being supporters of this channel, because trust me, this is a big operation. There's a lot of money involved. It's great fun. It's amazing fun, but fun doesn't pay the bills. So I thank every single member we've got, and we try and repay that membership back with lots of perks. And you got many options to do, but even if you can't afford it, liking the stream, subscribing, things like that all help, so you can help for free as well. But yeah, thank you very much for that support. It's very much appreciated. And speaking of support, Tim Fields with $10 super chat. What would happen if Elon ignored the FAA and launched Starship anyways without government approval? Surely you can't afford just to pay a fine. Surely you can afford to pay a fine. I don't know about US regulations, Daz. Maybe you would want to take that one. What would happen? It'd be more than a slap on the wrist, wouldn't it?
It wouldn't happen. Because SpaceX relies way too much on NASA and government contracts, and you don't just say, oh, well, forget all y'all, I'm just going to launch and ignore your rules. Like, that's not how it goes. It's not just the Starship program standing on its own. SpaceX is still an entity that would face consequences across the board if Elon just thumbed his nose at somebody and said, fine, oil rig, go. Like, that's just not how it works. I know a lot of people love to try to buck authority. Oh, yeah, we'll just buck authority or whatever, and it's just not how it works. Right now. Now, is one day Elon going to be sitting in a chair petting a white cat or something like that and launch from a volcano where there's no jurisdiction because he's not reliant on that anymore? I don't know. But for now, SpaceX does a lot of government work, a lot of NASA work. SpaceX exists because they got that work from NASA and the government in the first place. That's sort of what let them get over that teeny tiny hump. Remember the one launch to bankruptcy or whatever it was long ago and got them here today, you know?
And a quick thank you to Alan Latetti, who's become a Red Team member. Maybe from my little blurb earlier, but appreciated, and I'm sure you'll enjoy the perks that you will now have access to. As we watch Booster 4 now being literally pulled by an engineer over towards the hole in the launch mount. That is something to tell your family when you get home. What did you do at work today? Oh, well, I tugged a massive booster across over to the launch mount as we placed it back down on the crane. These are guidelines, aren't they? They're literally just a finite tune before the crane lowers it down into its mount.
Just takes a little bit of force to influence that, not to spin a lot. You're not going to pull that whole booster over to one side, but you can keep it from starting to spin. You can feel if it's swaying in the wind. It's sort of like an extension to keeping your hand on the load, right? If that thing starts to go in one direction or the other, all those guys are probably on radios, and they can communicate back what they're feeling the load do to the manager. I mean, it looks like there's one guy there who's talking on something, not actually holding anything. It's all about communication in a big lift like this. The crane operators, I think the crane operators down there, I know they have cameras on the crane, but lots of people just paying attention to what's going on. I'm sure any one of these folks could call out if they see something wrong, and it's just a big operation to get something this big up onto the mount.
I think this is a very relevant question because a lot of people will probably just joining the stream right now. Michael asks, will Ship 20 lift today as well? I personally don't think it will be today because I think they'll concentrate on getting Booster 4 secured to the orbital launch mount. I don't think they'll then lift Ship 20 because Ship 20, as we mentioned before, can't be lifted by the crane, it'll be lifted by the chopsticks, and I think they might want to do a bit more testing with the chopsticks first. So I don't know what you think, Daz, but I think it'll be probably later next week before the presentation, though.
I don't think it's a today sort of thing. You know what I might think. I know we're all super disappointed that they're cheating and using a crane here, right? We all thought, oh well, they're going to use the chopsticks to do all the stacking. Maybe since they know that the only way to stack the ship on top is with the chopsticks, they didn't want to risk the chopsticks with the booster lift. Do you think that's plausible, Chris? Like, do you think maybe they were, you know?
I do. I mean, I think it's a wait and see situation with this because we didn't even know the date of when the booster would be lifted, and when you watch things, you see, you get clues, you get visual indications of where they are in the flood. There's no NASA, there's no SpaceX press officer sending out news releases saying on Thursday we'll be doing this, on Friday we'll be doing this. We have to literally just watch and just guide from there, from the guidance of what we're seeing. I think personally that we'll see Booster 4 being the concentration for today, and maybe they'll do some chopstick testing tomorrow and maybe lift Ship 20 on Tuesday. That's my guess.
Yeah. It'll be one way or the other. Elon's going to pull out all the stops to get that ship on top of the booster so he can stand in front of it and wave at it. I'm curious. I wonder if we're not going to get some jet flybys at some point too. Remember yesterday we saw those the Inspiration 4 jets. I don't know if we should call them the Inspiration 4 jets, but they had the logo on the side still. Flying around Starbase, there was a little impromptu air show yesterday, and I wonder if that wasn't practice. I mean, you get the Super Bowl, you get the big sporting event, so the jets come flying over and stuff. I wonder if Elon doesn't want his own presentation or his own situation like that. The presentation is supposed to be at night, so I don't know that you would have a jet flyby at night, but maybe there's going to be a photo op earlier in the day with jets flying in the background or something like that. I don't know.
Speaking of which, we're going to put the link into chat for the excellent video footage we got for the flybys yesterday, including more things, of course, but that's in chat now. And also in chat is John Krause. Hello, John Krause. He's always a welcome to John here.
How's it going, man? John, of course, is one of our photographer friends, literally one of the most talented rocket photographers that exists, and he has a lot of rocket photography left. Not being the oldest rocket photographer out there, John. If you want, make sure you follow him over. I don't have a card to show for him, I don't think, but he's John Krause Photos on Twitter. Maybe one of the mods can get a link into chat because he is definitely a good friend around here.
And speaking of new friends, we've got Simon Bauman, who's become a Capcom member. He gets Discord access as well with that, so that's something where you can all join in and watch me derail channels with shuttle videos and maybe the occasional horse video. But we won't talk about that too much. James Creed, a Red Team member, thank you much for your support. Again, we say thank you for your support. I love it when Jack's on stream, because when Jack says he says it better than I do, because I'm too grunt and Yorkshireman to come across as genuine as I really mean to be. But trust me, as somebody who started NASASpaceflight, the actual site, in 2005, we would not have got to 2006. I'm not even lying here. We would not have got to 2006 without people supporting it. Seriously, these things do not run on thin air. There's a lot involved with it and a lot of cost involved, and it's only support. You can't make money from advertising like you did in the old days. It doesn't work like that on the internet anymore. It's a community support based goal of trying to completely continue to reinvest it and bring you more coverage. So the more you support, the more you get, and that's the cycle we're always aiming for.
Absolutely. And Chris, I'm going to call you out on it real quick. Did you just do like a segue into thanking the members? You was like, speaking of friends.
Yes, I did actually. Yes, I was quite impressed with that. It's a rare moment.
That was on the fly. I was quite impressed. That was a very smooth transition.
I've been listening to you too much.
But for real, y'all, we do appreciate the support. I see super chats coming in, people that are doing the memberships, people that buy things from the merch store. I'm not going to show merch right now. They're stacking a booster. Even if it's a non-financial way of being a part of the community, like you're just retweeting stuff or you're asking cool questions in chat or whatever. Across the board, thank y'all so much for enabling our Starship and rocket video addiction. I think I can call it that, right?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
I love some of the NASASpaceflights in the question queue, mainly just making statements of things like there's 11,000 people watching this booster lift. Trust me, we've had thousands of people just watching nothing happening. it's just watching the views. I mean, to be fair, we've got some great views and they are impressive, and it is more a general outlook thing where this is like, okay, this is where they are building and testing a rocket that could take humanity back to Mars faster than the other vehicle, because there's the other vehicle that's currently targeted to send people to Mars is SLS, and that's not manifested. It's nothing against SLS. It's manifested not to happen until the mid-2030s. SpaceX and Elon want that to happen sooner. So technically we are watching what will be the first rocket to send humans to Mars. And that's why people just find it fascinating. Also, I want to praise people just generally in our chat communities. I go on a lot of channels on different subjects, and I've never come across such a well-behaved, shall I say, or a more insightful and more fun community than I've seen in our chat rooms. I really have to praise the actual turn of our chat rooms. They really are a good bunch of people, so I find that also something that's attractive towards the stream.
Absolutely. This is, of course, the part where we can't see as much. There's tons of workers around there. Everybody's sort of watching, but they have to lower it down a little bit more than they're going to engage those clamps. but there's not really a great perspective, I don't think, where we can see any movement of the clamps. The interior structure of the orbital launch mount, or the orbital launch table, actually blocks that. But let's see. I think I wonder if it goes down a little bit more, or does it stop right there at the aero covers that sort of stick out from the side? Huh.
Yeah, I'm going back to previous times they've lowered a booster onto the launch mount, which is not many times, but it's something where it's a fascinating structure. The actual orbital launch mount itself, it's what Elon described as one of the most difficult parts of the whole zero stage, stage zero as he calls it. It really is a complex piece of kit, especially when it's going to be mated to the booster QD, which is a quick disconnect, which are not as quick as you may assume from the word quick disconnect. They are basically just the last thing to disconnect from the booster before launch, before the actual clamps release. But yeah, it's going to be fascinating to watch how they do the testing with the booster now. It's still moving side to side, so they've not got it down fully yet, or not secured at least.
Yeah, you can sort of see when it's still swinging free, it's moving back and forth a little bit, but it sort of solidifies, I guess you could say, whenever it's down firmly. It may be a little bit, because there's a lot of lining up, I think, that has to do here. I wonder if it doesn't need to be rotated some, how exactly they get those pins set into the right position. Because remember, the actual clamps sort of lean out of the side of the orbital launch table, but when they do that, they lean inwards to catch the booster, because the booster is sort of down in the middle. It's almost like, well, yeah, okay, I don't know. It's almost like putting a carrot into a donut. That doesn't make any sense. Can you come up with something better?
Why would you do that, Daz?
It doesn't make any sense. That's why I was stumbling for something to put in the middle of the donut, and I could not come up with a good thing to put in the... Anyways. Somebody help me. Putting a something...
I'll help you by quickly reading these out. Drizzle,
you.
Red Team member, thank you again. Dean, with the super chat, happy to see the booster back on the orbital launch mount, thank you. And also smash that like button. Yes, by all means. 11,000 people in, 2,200 likes. That's not right. It costs you nothing. I hate being one of those standard YouTube things. Smash the like button, hit subscribe, notification. I'm not one of those people. But trust me, if you want to hit like, it's free. It'll cost you 1 second of your time, and it'd be appreciated. I just love seeing it go up, by the way, when I say that. I just feel the power of speech saying, please hit like, and suddenly it rises and rises, and you're thinking, wow, that's something to put on a t-shirt and tell your friends and family.
Anyway. I gotta read a couple of these out of chat. Green Monster, it's not really like putting the donut hole in the donut. The booster does not look like a donut hole. Somebody said... We need a t-shirt that is a carrot going into a donut. I think we'll skip that shirt design. Thank you for the idea, though. Let's see. Somebody was saying an eclair into a donut.
How does that work?
I don't...
Oh, yes, it would. Yes, yeah, that would. That would still work, yes.
I feel like an eclair is too big to fit in the donut hole. Here's one. Put a churro in the donut. It actually sort of looks like a churro. The bottom of the... You have ever had a churro, Chris? I don't think
I have, yes.
But you have?
We have. Yes, we have. We have those over here. Yes, we do.
Do they sell those at like football games or what?
No, football games. It's pies.
Pies. Okay.
Yes.
I think a churro would work. We'll say putting a churro into a donut. Thank you. Who came up with that? Let's see. Aqua B came up with that. Credit Aqua B for putting a churro into a donut. That's what's going on here.
Have you seen the amount of donut and carrot emojis are in chat right now?
Oh, just trying to drive engagement, Chris.
Yes, I think we've got a t-shirt idea there, maybe. Don't tell Mark. Mark's not around. No, Mark is around. We might have a t-shirt coming up.
My wife is here in the background shaking her head at me. When I'm in the studio talking, I have like one volume that it goes through the entire house, and she came up the stairs to shake her head at me like, what?
That English gent, probably for a fellow Englishman there. Is it me, or is there a circle of things on the booster that look like a TIE fighter cockpit windows? They do actually a little bit.
They kind of do.
Yeah, now you said it, I will not be able to unsee that. Thank you.
Are those access ports? Are they some sort of heat shield tile test? They have an interesting... I mean, they look like a heat shield design on the top.
Yeah, they do look like... Someone mentioned that in chat earlier to say, why is there TPS on there? Again, I think that is probably just something they might get some test data from. I don't think that serves much of a purpose unless they expect some aerodynamic stress there when they come back. I tell you what, that's another thing. Maybe if Elon is taking questions for several hours on Thursday and we get like people running out of questions, that'll be something we can ask him.
There you go.
Michael Isler, Red Team, thank you very much for joining Red Team. Again, your perks will now be available to you.
Nice.
Just look at this. XCL Nav. No question. Thanks a lot, guys. $10. Literally just $10 is a thanks a lot. I mean, that's lovely. I mean, by all means, ask questions. You don't have to pay to ask questions. By all means, if there's a good question for free, we'll take it. We'll answer it best we can. We always do that. But of course, you have to really read that out because someone has put $10 in. Very much appreciated. Sneezy Parrot. Sorry?
Oh, no, real quick, just to point this out, I'm going to hop to this camera. I'm struggling with the bitrate on this camera right now, but look, Nick has panned up a little bit, and it looks like we've got people on the QD arm.
Oh.
If I'm not mistaken.
Now, if I remember rightly, Elon said the QD arm also acts as a stabilizer for the booster. So that is what we're seeing right now. We're seeing the QD arm for ship. Remember, it's for ship. That's what it's designed for. Being used in its other role, which is for stabilization of what will be the stack on the orbital launch mount. So they are there for that purpose. That's a great view.
Out here, you can see the silhouette of the workers on the QD arm, but it's not quite up to the booster yet. It's sort of off in that direction, but it hasn't made contact. So it'll be very interesting. You can see right there, this is the perfect angle to see the QD arm is just on the top of the booster, but it also sticks above the booster a little bit so that it can reach the bottom of the ship. It sort of splits the difference between the two vehicles, question mark? I think we could call them vehicles, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But also from this angle, you can see a great perspective of where the stabilization of the booster is on the arm and also where the connections to the ship will be for the QD. You can see the height difference there just between the booster and the top of the QD arm. That's for the ship side. The bottom part is for the booster side. That's stabilization.
Look here.
It's a wonderful device.
Instead of a mile south, we'll look from a mile north here. And you can see the same sort of thing from this thing, a little bit more contrast there. But that is really cool to see exactly how that lines up. I like it. And Chris, look at this. The chopsticks are currently sort of halfway between the booster and the ship. Right? And we know the chopsticks open and close. They get wider and then they close back down again. We know they go up and down, and we know they swing left and right. Right? So if they are, in fact, going to use them, I mean, I think they have to use them to put the ship on top. We would expect them, they can't swing over the booster. They'll smack it. Right? It's in the way. They can't swing straight to the ship. They'll hit the ship. So they would have to go up, and then they would have to swing over the top of the ship. They would probably want to open up a little bit and then go down on either side of the ship and then close and pick it up on those load points. Have they reinstalled those load points underneath the ears? I mean, the forward flaps?
We were looking on a recent tour with me in control of the PTC where we were looking for what were going to be the lift points. There are some nodules on there, shall I say. But that might be it, because I do remember from Tim's tour with Elon that he showed the lifting points on booster, and they're little tiny things. We all thought maybe lifted by the grid fins. We all thought maybe lifted by the flaps. But no, they're little tiny nodules which will just allow the chopsticks to enclose around the vehicle and lift up and raise it on those lifting points, which can take the load. So I think they can do it. But I also mentioned the fact that we saw the chopstick test where they did open wide, and they were literally at 90-degree angles from each other. So they can really open up wide. And that would allow them to come down over the top of the flaps and then close in again and lift up. So that's what I think will happen.
Chris, I just got a text message. My wife is she's in the house with me, but she just texted me and she said a taquito would fit through the donut.
Oh, there we go. We've done some research into what would fit through a donut.
We've also got the Texas thing there. You can buy taquitos for breakfast. It's like a miniature breakfast burrito, sort of. So apparently we could go with taquito through a donut as well. It's got.
I'll Google that later.
It's just a small breakfast burrito. It's like a half-size breakfast burrito.
Hey, I'm gonna have to quickly thank some people quickly.
Sure, go.
We have a queue here. Sneezy Ferret, howdy. What's the plan this week? Full stack, static fire. Full stack, yes. Static fire, I think that's a while away because they need the tank farm, the orbital tank farm, to be in a working order for that to happen. So I don't know if that'll come soon, but full stack, yes. Anthony Stark, thank you for becoming a Red Team member. Very much appreciated. Jim Carrot for the Carrot Fund. Why is it I always leave hungry? I always leave hungry from these streams. That's when Jack brings up his cheesecake, doesn't it? Yeah.
Nice, yeah. It's not
Musical
4 a.m.
Wolves.
It's not 4 a.m. right now to talk about cheesecake. Go ahead, Chris. Sorry.
No. Musical Wolves, regular, $4.99. Thank you very much. When will we see Ship 20 get lifted to? I think, personally, I'm guessing, but I'm thinking early next week. I don't think it'll be today. I think it'll be early next week. But we'll keep an eye on it. We're 24/7 live, so we won't miss it. But we'll keep a very good eye on when we think we're going to start seeing the chopsticks move, which will give us an indication. Mike, Red Team, very much appreciate. Again, great support. Membership is very much a big part of what we do to enable us to do what we do. Attitude, from the images I've seen of those inside the aero covers, the TIE fighter windows are large patch type antennae.
Okay.
That's potential.
That would make sense.
Yeah. Jay Watt, another regular, null comment, just supporting us. Again, thank you. I always find that fascinating. People just go, oh, I'll just give you some money. Thank you.
Yeah.
Illinois captive, in a process with tons of people working, we've clamped down the way they will do, the way they will do this in the future. Or will they kind of snap in place? Or will they roll out like regular rockets? It's a question and a half, isn't it? I think they'll go for a more automated process. I think the future will see lots of people around literally pushing the rocket into place. I think it will come to an end. I think they will want a faster process where maybe say by booster 10 or booster 11, something like that, they'll have a set process, especially with the chopsticks. And actually, remember, this is still a crane lift they've been using today. So when they move to the chopsticks, it'll be more refined and more accurate, more computer controlled. So I think the latter answer to your question will be applied to the way they'll go forward with this.
I think it'll eventually get there. I think right now the crane is probably way more advanced than the chopsticks.
Yeah.
But they will dial the chopsticks in. It's going to take a lot of learning to figure out exactly how to lift that thing with the chopsticks. But they're all in on it. It's not like they're going to just throw the chopsticks away tomorrow and say, man, I guess we'll just use cranes, get us Franken crane back, right?
Yeah.
They're going to figure it out. That's sort of what SpaceX does. They toss things out there, these ideas that are sort of like, wait, you're going to do what? And then they refine it over time. Sometimes we see them walk back from wacky ideas, like catching fairings in huge circus nets on top of ships. And they try that out, and they say, well, okay, maybe that won't work, but let's do it a different way. Let's just fish them out of the drink. But no matter what, they figure out what they're going to do. They get experimental evidence. They actually do it and try it, and they dial it in. They're not afraid to make process by putting ideas out there. Progress.
Speaking of the placement of the booster onto the orbital launch mount, Hullspeed asks, what part of the rocket bears the load as it sits on the stand? It looks like there are so many nozzles in the way. Well, I'll answer the first part of that. Daz can elaborate if he wishes to. But the nozzles are not taking any bearing weight on this. The nozzles are free, and they're in a hole in the orbital launch mount. They are free, and they can do things like Elon's video, where they do the gimbal tests with the 9 gimbal Raptors, which are in the middle, and also you got the fixed Raptor boosts on the outside. They are all free. They're not sat on anything. They are free and got air between them. The rest of the structure is sat on the outside and the outer ring. So that's where the load is, on the outer ring.
Yeah, and remember, it's not the engine nozzles themselves, like not the engine bells. I don't care how many times you've done it in Kerbal, you don't sit a rocket down on the engine bell. Like there's always a structural, like a hard point that is not the engine bell to set the rocket down on. And so that's sort of the skirt around where the engines mount to the rockets, underneath those aero covers. The trapezoidal shapes there, those are the aero covers, and there's a hard point sort of down at the bottom of those where these clamps sort of lean in from the donut to grasp the churro.
Another brilliant segue there, because we've got breakfast references here. Hey Tim says, great breakfast with Daz and crew. Snap Jr. sends thanks for all you do. Thank you very much to you too as well. Mark Gerritts, I've heard of his name somewhere. A little contribution for the Abused Donuts recovery efforts. Mark is our he's our webmaster, but he's more than a webmaster. He does everything with the store. He comes with a lot of designs. He does everything. He's a major part and a long-term part of this site from the very start. So Mark is probably not as well known as the Marys of this world, but he's very much a key part of what NSF has been from the start and still is now. Jack Parsons Laboratory, thank you for becoming a launch director. That's a big membership level. That's everything mentioned before and more on Discord and everything else. But that is the top level support and very much appreciated. Musical Wolves, if Starship does RTLS, return to Legendary Shuttle, will we see a shuttle? I don't really understand the question, but I'll make one reference to that. Return to launch site abort for shuttle was a terrible, risky thing. It was very much last gap, save the crew, and most likely a water bailout scenario in the recovery boost. The SRB recovery ships. That was probably their best hope of getting the crew back. The shuttle had very little chance of getting back. With RTLS and SpaceX, it's now a cool thing, because that means it's going to come back to the LZ-1, or it's going to come back in the Starship, so it's going to come back to the launch mount itself, be caught with the chopsticks. So RTLS has changed from a horrifying, oh my goodness me, shuttle scenario into a, hey, Falcon 9 booster Starship thing. So it's changed from something being horrifying to cool. And it's quite amazing how that's changed since shuttle. So that's my reference to RTLS.
Yeah, RTLS on shuttle was always, well, technically we have a plan, but we really don't want to have to try this plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You really didn't want that. If you ever heard, I mean, there's if you YouTube, someone did it in, like, I don't think it was Kerbal, I think it was in Simulator or something like that.
Yeah.
Two out blue. A two out blue is two SSMEs out during first stage ascent. And that is an RTLS abort. And it was a training simulation. The actual loop was a training situation. And the call was, do you think we'll get this one back? And the controller said no. No, sir. And that basically is how risky an RTLS abort with shuttle was. It was a last gap scenario to try and get the orbiter back over the area where the SRB recovery ships were for a bailout. That was the best hope of getting the crew back and an RTLS abort. So yeah, that was scary. Overlord Raven, we need a remote camera t-shirt with all the names.
The names.
Now that's a question for you.
Little profiles of the cameras, like an outline of the camera, and then its name underneath it or something.
Because we have a good herd of cameras, don't we?
Yes.
How would you explain a collective of cameras? I'm not sure there's a collective term for that.
It's a focus of cameras, Chris.
Ah, there we go. Focus of cameras.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I just made that up.
Oh, right. Oh, well, I'd have fallen for that if you made... No, seriously, that's what it's called. Robert Lacaro, thank you for your support. And Mark W., how is NSF deciding who gets to go to the update? Shuttle trivia contest. You know what? That's a good idea. I think we should do that. I think we should have a shuttle trivia question. But Chris G would win that, wouldn't it? So that's not really fair.
That definitely seems like a loaded way to decide. I don't even think... There's not really any information on how many people are going to go or how SpaceX is going to decide, or are they just going to have people park on the beach or something and everybody can watch it? We don't even know what the details are yet. Just a date and a time and some jets flying over. So,
It's kind of funny because Elon has been asked by people on Twitter quite regularly, including like Turbio asks him like once a week, as they're kind of like a thing he did then. When is the next presentation? And Elon would probably sometimes answer like, soon, maybe soon, and maybe won't answer the question. And we're all thinking, this is dragging on a bit now. I wonder when it's going to be. And just randomly, in a reply to something not related to Starship, somebody asked him, when is the next presentation? And Elon gave a time and a date. So I was like, that came out of nowhere. And like in a week's time at 8 p.m. local time. Wow. Okay.
I wonder if Elon told the rest of his team that before he put that on Twitter.
I wonder. I do wonder. Because I think we knew it was coming because he did that tweet earlier where he showed a simulation of the boost coming down the chopsticks. So he'd been collating the video content we're likely to see at the presentation. So I think it was getting closer all the time. But it was something where he came out with a date and a time out of the blue, and we're all like, whoa, okay. How are they going to do this? Will it from the high bay bar or the launch site? We'll get to see, won't we? We don't know yet.
Yeah. So here, I mean, we still see, when we go back to the close-up, we still see the workers sort of leaning on it. But visually, the booster has done 99.9% of the motion it should be doing here. The workers haven't quite all backed off and leaned on the railing and started to take selfies with it or anything like that. They're still very attentive to what's going on. But that was the majority of the motion I believe we expected to see. And again, we probably don't think we're going to see the chopsticks lift the ship today. That may be later in the week. But if those chopsticks start to swing around, who knows? We shall see. But again, we just saw the lift of Booster 4 onto the orbital launch mount down there at Starbase. And of course, this coming up in preparation for the presentation, Elon says that Starship update that has been perpetually 2 weeks away for the last year or 2 or 3. coming up hopefully later this week. And to do that, they want to have the booster and the Starship, the full stack, up on the orbital launch stand there. So that's what we were observing this morning. Kind of a hot start there, right, Chris? We're just like,
Oh,
there it
yes.
is. Let's talk about it. Okay, cool.
It's like, okay, we're going to go live now. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, okay. Now's time to go. Now's good.
I need one of those glued-on headsets. I'm ready just to press a button to go live for situations like that. I just want to do a quick...
Go ahead.
Quick thank you to people, because I hate to leave people who have basically just thanked us with support without quickly mentioning them. Philip Vyson, Red Team, thank you. Velzy, Red Team, and thank you to Ulrich Fun for Musical Wolves. That's something we're going to expect an update from Thursday on. What's the plan with the Phobos and Deimos? Because we've heard nothing about them since. Last thing we heard about them was Tim's interview video again, where Elon didn't seem very interested in answering the question, because he said all the focus is on the orbital launch attempt. He didn't seem all that intrigued about the status of the oil rigs, and we've not seen much progress with them from the satellite photos from Harry's satellite he sends over on various places, launch sites and areas of the world. We've not seen much progress. I don't think the oil rigs are really part of the plan right now. Maybe something for the future. Deco, sorry, go.
No, I was going to say, Chris, let's run through the rest of those super chats there. Make sure that we didn't miss anybody.
Yeah, Navin with 20 Canadian dollars. Thank you. That's a lot of money. Very much appreciated. Daniel, when cheerio. Another food reference. Funky Times, I heard the TIE Fighter patches on Starlink antennas. Jessica Kirsch chats with someone. Is true? I don't know. Maybe that's something for Thursday again. So we'll find out, Funky, because I don't like to speculate myself unless I know for a fact. But we'll get to find out some questions then. Durko, will the orbital launch platform and tower survive a full stack booster explosion on the first orbital test? Worst case scenario. That's a bit of a negative thing, but you know what? I'm sure they designed it towards being able to cater towards anomalies on the pad. I just hope it doesn't happen, because I don't think that'd be a good day at all. Ben Glasgow.
It depends, right?
It depends, doesn't it? Yeah.
There are some where, okay, they'll be damaged, it'll be okay. There's some where it may damage critical systems. Like, it just depends. You can't just say, well, what if it explodes? Well, it depends on what happens. So certainly would not be a good day and would set the program back if something like that happened. But, you know, is the tower going to fall over, or are they just going to have to patch up some lines? It really does depend on exactly what happens.
Yeah, and the last two here. Ben Glasgow, what data do you think they'll be using for the booster design, considering they've not been done any major test flights yet? Cheers for all you. Thank you, Ben. That's a Thursday question. It really is. I think we'll get a lot more data, a lot more visual data as well, with videos from Elon on Thursday. And that will be the key to seeing where they are with things. Smooth Juice, just to think into the future and the first launch Starship, I personally would like to hear John Innsbrucker do the commentary. Will you be going live for the presentation this week? As soon as we know the plans, we'll know the plans for the live presentation. And John Innsbrucker, I think, will definitely be involved, because he did the Starship tests for the SpaceX streams. So I think that'll be something where we'll see that. So that's all the questions taken there. Any more questions, Starbase Live?
Hey, there you go. That's probably going to be our plan here, since the majority of the motion of the booster has occurred. Chris and I have been here for a little while. We've been answering some questions for you, but our Starbase live stream is on 24/7. And what we're going to do now is take you back to all the cameras on Starbase Live. It's going to be another stream. It's the stream that's on 24/7 for the last quite a few months now. It's always there. There's always people watching. We'll be hanging out in chat there. But since that was the majority of the motion, sort of the big visual spectacle we expected with the lift of Booster 4 onto the orbital launch mount there, we're going to go ahead and stop the commentary stream here and leave you in the very capable hands of Starbase Live. So again, you shouldn't have to go anywhere. We can put that link into chat if people want to click over, but continue watching all of the cameras. Mary's camera out there, Nick's camera, all of our robotic cameras, our mobile assets, all the different ways that we cover this will still be available. We're just going to spool down the commentary stream here. So Chris Bergen, thank you so much for hanging out with us here. This was a very cool short stream. I like it.
My pleasure. And Javier, I will answer your question in Starbase Live.
All right, folks, again, it's just going to kick you over to Starbase Live, and we will see y'all later. Thanks for joining us here, and thanks for all of the support.